Katir is a Spanish middle distance runner specialising in the 1500 and 5000 metre distances, and he has recently been in the news due to receiving 2 bans for at first whereabouts failures and being found to tamper with travel documents to prove his innocence for the initial whereabouts failure. There is a little bit to unpack in this case, and in this video I will be explaining this whole doping controversy from the beginning, because he has not had his 2023 World Championship silver medal revoked despite it falling within the whereabouts failure timeframe. And I think this opens up a discussion about the severity of punishments for anti-doping rule violations in athletics. But let's give some context about Katir's career first, because he has been pretty damn successful over the past few years. Katir had previously been another national level runner, netting respectable times in the 1500 metre. His times though, whilst of course very strong to the average person, were not on a level where he would be challenging for international medals. He had his breakout year in 2021 after the COVID pandemic, which saw him drop his PB in the 1500 metre by 8 seconds, going from a 3:36.59 to a 3:28.76. He also placed 8th in the Tokyo 1500 metre Olympic final, ran a 12:50 in the 5000 metre and a 7:27 3K time that won him the British Grand Prix Diamond League and a Spanish national record. That 3K time in particular is really when he started to become on people's radar, because that's some pretty solid progression, and it came after the COVID-19 lockdowns where drug testing was heavily limited due to pandemic restrictions. And as often happens with breakout performances, people did begin to question the integrity of his performances, and we saw some early accusations of doping. He had a solid but somewhat less fast 2022 season, but this time walked away with a championship medal, earning himself a bronze medal in the 1500 metres in the Oregon World Champs in 2022, with a 3:29.9 time. This was complemented by a silver medal in the European Championships in the 5000 metres, only beaten by, well, I think you know who. 2023 saw more success, with a blistering 12:45 in the Monaco Diamond League 5000 metres. He also ran a 3:28.89 1500 metres in the Oslo Diamond League, coming second behind some random Norwegian runner. His final achievement in the Diamond League was beating Ethiopia's Yomif Kejelcha, one of the fastest 3K, 5K and 10K runners of all time, in the Road Diamond League with a 12:52. And despite a disappointing 1500 metre World Champs where he placed 10th, Katir won a silver medal in the 5000 metre Champs, beaten only by this guy again, goddamn. In his career, Katir enjoyed a number 1 world ranking spot in the 5000 metres by World Athletics for 2 weeks, and a number 3 ranking in the 1500 metre for 4 weeks. It's an astronomically fast and successful rise to glory, and it came with plenty of scrutiny. One photo being passed around a lot right now is Katir responding to accusations of doping on his Instagram. You gotta love how his best response to doping is, "I'm better looking than you." And by this point there were other much larger threads pointing out how suspicious his times look. Now in 2023, Katir was banned for 2 years by the Athletics Integrity Unit for admitting to 3 whereabouts failures in an 8-month period. For reference, WADA guidelines require athletes to let testers know their location for 1 hour of the day every single day, so they can be eligible for random testing outside of competition. Failure to do this, or putting down inaccurate information 3 times in a year, is an anti-doping rule violation, as you're obstructing agents from that out of competition testing. What's important to note is that you do not need to be found taking any banned substances to violate this rule. Poor organisation can also lead to sanctions if you exceed the whereabouts failure limit. Katir admitted that he did indeed violate the whereabouts failure rules and attributed the situation to him being a very absent-minded person, citing confusion with the WADA system and getting mixed up with the ARU and WADA. Seems a little careless given that your entire career could be over if you don't pay attention to this stuff. I mean, surely after like your second whereabouts failure, you would really pay attention to making sure you don't mess it up again. But all that said, Katir has not been found guilty of any banned substances, and he claimed he had been tested multiple times in that period. So whilst this outed him as being even more suspicious to the average person, and it also meant he would be unable to compete in the Paris Olympics where he was a hopeful for medaling, he still had a solid career ahead of him, as the ban was short and he would be just turning 28 when the ban was over. Plenty of time for a solid 5K career at least. However, it came out last week that not only had Katir committed 3 whereabouts failures, he had also tampered with evidence they tried to use to prove his innocence for the whereabouts failures initially. But what does this exactly mean? According to the press conference, Katir put a false version of events and altered documents. He did so in order to persuade World Athletics that his filing failure on the 28th of February 2023 should not be treated as a whereabouts failure. The documents falsified were a boarding pass, booking confirmation and travel itinerary. The second rule violation means he will have a 4-year ban, but what's strange is that it runs concurrently or at the same time as his whereabouts failure. So instead of being banned for a total of 6 years, as he's had a 2-year offence and a 4-year offence, his ban will be lifted in early 2028, being only 4 years in total banned from the sport. What's also strange is that despite the AIU's request to invalidate all of Katir's accolades from March 2023, or the date of deception, the disciplinary tribunal have denied this recommendation despite his rule-breaking falling within the timeframe of the 2023 World Champs. Essentially, he is allowed to keep his medal despite the disciplinary tribunal agreeing that he broke the rules within the rough timeframe of winning the medal. I really don't get the logic behind this. The man cheated, so in my opinion should be stripped of all achievements after his cheating. The disciplinary tribunal justified allowing Katir to keep his medal as the tampering occurred at a time where the first whereabout failure and the athlete had not benefited from a competitive advantage which affected his result. Now yes, he did not technically get caught using PEDs, but if the suspicion caused by the whereabouts failure warrants banning him in the first place, then surely it's enough to warrant stripping him of his achievements. He has prevented other athletes from rightfully and fairly winning medals that they have trained their lives to achieve. I know it's very possible that those other athletes are also using PEDs, but they haven't been banned yet, so officially we have to assume innocence. Even a 4-year ban seems really relaxed given that he committed 2 separate violations of the rules. I'm generally of the belief that most doping violations should have a lifetime ban, because it will hopefully act as a deterrent for athletes to dope and reduce the number of dopers in the sport. There is also the fact that if an athlete has used PEDs, they are always getting some benefit from the extra performance and training they have been able to get, even when they cycle off the drugs. On top of that, how can viewers trust athletes when they return to the sport if they have already been previously banned? No matter what happens, no one will trust Katir's results. He could be tested twice a day for the rest of his life, and the majority of people wouldn't believe he's natural, especially given how easy it is to bypass WADA's testing. What I also don't get is that Katir's ban, whilst it has tarnished his reputation and prevented him from competing in Paris, has not ended his career. He will be turning 30 when the ban is lifted, which is plenty of time to flourish in the 5k and 10k distances, and it gives him almost 10 years to step up to the elite marathon level, given how we have seen staggering marathon performances by athletes in their late 30s. Bear in mind, he can still train in this time as well, he just can't compete. The ban is definitely a big hit to his goals, but tampering with evidence should end your career in my book. I can maybe understand making a whereabouts failure an exception to this rule, as whilst it probably is due to avoiding tests due to taking PEDs you know would flag up, there is a small benefit of the doubt chance it is due to poor organisation on the part of the athlete. But only making the ban 4 years after tampering with evidence with the direct intent to mislead? Surely that removes all benefit of the doubt grace you would give someone. If they had respect for the rules, they would not be trying to lie to the tribunal. And what makes you want to run the ban concurrently? If you already banned someone for doing something, that doesn't make you partially immune to other bans. A criminal who's in prison for murder doesn't have an additional assault charge concurrently run with their murder charge. They don't get a reduced penalty on their assault because they've already committed a crime. And this is also assuming the best intentions for Katir, when in reality, his progression makes no sense. His performance skyrocketed after lockdown, when testing was very minimal, and he had 3 whereabouts failures for 8 months. I'm sorry for the ranting nature of this video. I normally try and be balanced with these analysis and give as much benefit of the doubt as I can, but in my mind, Katir is a cheater, plain and simple. And these lax doping rules are exactly why no one takes anti-doping seriously in athletics. I think he should be stripped of all his accolades backdating to the whereabouts failures, and arguably everything before then as well. He clearly has no respect for the rules, so we have no idea what he was doing before 2023. Based on his progression, probably quite a lot. But at least justice has been partially served, and he never took gold in a major championship. Jakob Ingebrigtsen previously spoke about beating known dopers like Katir, calling it the ultimate destruction, which I love. I mean, imagine cheating multiple times and still losing in every race. I just hope that Jakob is clean right now because I don't think my mental state could take him testing positive. But only time will tell. If you want to see my thoughts on whether Ruth Chepngetich, the women's marathon world record holder, is taking steroids, then click on this video on the left. If you want to see a documentary about one of the craziest comeback seasons of 2024 athletics, then click on this video on the right. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this whole situation in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy training.